What's going on, guys? Seth and Chevy here. We watched Suzume in the theater, and I feel like this might be a little bit of a not spoiler, but revealing of my opinion on it. I think you should go see it as well. We're going to be talking about the movie, and I'm going to try to avoid heavy spoilers. Chevy can talk about whatever he wants, but just letting you guys know, there might be spoilers in this discussion, but let's do a real quick recap on what this story is about, and I will not spoil the bigger parts of it. But basically, this movie is about a girl named Suzume who meets a dude named Soda in her small town, who is essentially a closer, a dude who goes around Japan and makes sure doors are shut, stopping these worms that come out and cause catastrophic earthquakes all over Japan. Through certain events, Soda is transformed into a chair by a cat entity named Daijin. And so throughout the movie, it is Suzume and Soda on what seems to be a road trip through Japan to chase down Daijin, find out why Daijin turned Soda into a chair, and also find out why Daijin seems to be going through Japan and seems to be in all the places where all these worms are coming out of doors that they have to stop from causing earthquakes across Japan. The mystery of Daijin, the cat, who is adorable. So we get to see the movie take place from like southern Japan all the way up to Tokyo, and it is a beautiful visual movie. We both watched it, and how about you let us know your thoughts on the movie Suzume?
Yeah. So like I said, we saw it in the theater, and just to kind of throw it out there, totally recommend if you can see it in theater.
Yeah,
it is
100%.
definitely one of those kind of movies.
Yeah.
Movie's beautiful, and it's no surprise because of the people involved with it. But holy crap, I love watching these movies just for the visuals alone, let alone the rest of it.
Yeah, we saw Your Name, and that's made also by Makoto Shinkai, and they both share just a very beautiful, vibrant, fantastical visual style. This is definitely similar in that regard.
Yeah. I can't get it. Like there's
And check out that review as well if you want.
so many like moments where they're just like taking their time in a scene and just showing off like the scenery, and it's beautiful.
It's funny because coming from seeing Your Name and absolutely loving it, when we saw this in theater, the movie starts out and the visuals are just instantly like, this is a gorgeous movie. It's a very, very vibrant, fantastical, big sky shot. Just like in Your Name, there's all these sky shots for obvious reasons. This is very similar in that. And it's funny because you just can tell like who made it.
Yeah.
Like as soon as you look at it, you're like, oh yeah, this is just like every scene is so detailed, animated, gorgeous looking. The environments are fantastic. Everything's so whimsical looking.
Yeah. And the just right off the bat, we're given, a person who kind of lives out in the countryside of Japan, and the life of this small town, that is very quickly for her interrupted. I won't go into too many details because I think you should watch it, but and like you said, it turns into this road trip movie of all these different locations and scenes, lots of just like nice slow live-in moments where like you get to just see people be people and see their relationships build with complete strangers and stuff like that. It was probably one of my favorite parts of the movie, just like all the interactions that are constantly happening in this movie and all these friendships that are developed along the way while this objective is trying to be reached. I love the fantasy elements, like I think whimsical is a great word for it, that complement real life Tokyo and real problems that Japan being where it is, has to deal with, which is earthquakes and stuff. And this is a really fun way to kind of like explain why those happen the way they do. Very, very cool, like connecting reality with fantasy element.
It's also an interesting story of a hero for Japan. Like I don't live in, well, I live in a place where earthquakes definitely can happen.
Fault lines.
Yeah, exactly. We're right across the ocean. But it's an interesting concept when I was watching it and thinking like, oh, they're saving Japan. It's not like, you know, they're like saving the world or whatever. It's like, you know, this thing happens in Japan. They're trying to stop it here. Maybe it does happen in other places and there's closures in other places. But this story is about Japan and the earthquakes that happen in Japan and why they happen, and that there's people who are trying to stop that. And it kind of gives this like idea that people are trying to protect, you know, the people of Japan. And the whole movie is just like an absolute love letter to Japan, from the locations to the people, like you said, the people they meet from different locations, from different, you know, backgrounds, whether they're city people or like people out in the country, the different locations. And even something that touched me quite a bit was every place that these worms are coming from are old, decrepit areas of Japan where nobody goes anymore. And if you know anything about their population in Japan, it's shrinking. There's more old people than young people. I was reading something recently about how there's towns with less and less people now. There's just abandoned buildings
and schools and stuff.
And some people will like move to Japan and just buy up these houses and live in them because there's no one there anymore. And that's like so fucking depressing. But like the movie kind of felt like it was touching on that a bit with these like abandoned locations, because even when people would look at them and see the lights on in this like carnival place and like, oh, I used to go there when I was a kid. And it's like people are kind of remembering a more vibrant time. And so like it's a really, the movie is really an interesting lens to view this fantastical story that's, you know, wrapped around some real stuff that, you know, is going on in Japan, you know, earthquakes.
I mean, and to add on to that too, a lot of, you know, these people who live out in the country, similar to most countries where this happens, they want to live in the city and they move.
Yeah.
And so all these young people leave.
Yeah.
So
yes, it just felt like a very modern and topical story that's written in this fantastical way. That, you know, we're not even talking about the details of the movie yet, but just like I just love that part of the movie.
Well, and I think that adds to like what I was saying, like it's like real Japan with fantasy like intertwined into it to kind of explain things that are actually happening over there too. So really smart in that regard. Also, when the fantasy elements do happen, the colors are just popping and like it really makes it feel like fantasy, and I really like that. The music's great, which I would expect of a movie, but they, you know, it can be bad sometimes. Some people aren't good at it. They have not missed. So
I love the Suzume theme. Like it's in the trailer.
So did everyone on TikTok. So.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great song, and it's funny too because like, and not to just bring up Your Name again, but Your Name has a fantastic soundtrack as well, done by Radwimps, and they did a lot of the songs on this as well. So I love what they got going on with the creative mind behind these movies, but then also, you know, the people they're bringing back to create, because this movie doesn't feel like Your Name and story, but it has some shared elements of like, you know, love. These aren't action movies, but there's like, you know, big things happening that have high stakes, visually gorgeous and beautiful. So I like the people that they got working on these movies. At this point, whatever the hell they make next, I'll watch. So
yeah, and we have 2 movies of theirs we haven't even seen. So
yeah,
need to try to fit that in at some point.
Yep.
But yeah, we also, you know, along this journey, like I was kind of mentioning earlier, we meet people. Some of them become kind of like, for lack of a better way to word it, like mainstays in the journey. Specifically, Soto's friend, Sota's friend, kind of gets turned. Never mind, I won't get too into it. But he joins for part of the journey, and it is a fun part because there's a lot of like family moments involved there, which are played out in, again, another like realistic way, but there's a fantasy element thrown in there that kind of like makes darker emotions come out of a character, and it was a really like powerful scene. I really liked that a lot, especially like the realization of what had just like come out of that person's mouth. I was just it was an interesting way to handle that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the conclusion of the movie, I think, was handled really well, and was satisfying, which is important when you sit for 2.5 hours or however long the movie was, and have this great adventure. The last thing you want is a a limp ending, and I don't think it was that. So, yeah, overall, it was a great experience. I think it is right up there with Your Name. I think Your Name's story is a little better, but I mean, I'm cherry picking, at this point. So
yeah, I before watching this, everybody's saying like, oh, it's good, but it's not as good as Your Name. And like, I watched it and I was like, if Your Name's better than this, it's like barely. This movie is really good. I loved this movie. I'm just saying it now. But I also loved Your Name. I do think Your Name has a little more forward stakes involved. There's definitely a more heavier romance involved with that story that that you want to root on among the events that are happening in that movie. We're not talking about that movie. This movie has a more subtle almost like a family element to it. There is a love element to it, but it's just not as forward as Your Name is. And I think that's a big element of why people maybe are a little more quick to be like, oh, Your Name's like better for sure. And it's like, yeah, I do agree, but I do think this is a very close movie to that.
Yeah, agreed.
Because I really liked this movie. Again, we talked about it right at the beginning, but just that whole love letter to Japan thing is great. I also love that the story is like engaging, interesting, especially when you're trying to find out the mystery behind Daijin, what they're even doing. But also, like you kind of touched on, the family element of Suzume and her aunt. Yeah. And her aunt the whole time is thinking that the journey she's going on is for a dude. She's like, oh, you're just trying to, run away with some guy. I'm not going to let you do that. And Suzume can't explain to her like what the hell she's actually doing.
How do you explain that?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like there's all these layers that I think are a lot of fun as that starts unraveling and creates tension between her and her aunt that does come to a situation like you were talking about a little bit, alluding to it. So there's a lot of layers to the story. And then all the characters that they run into and talk to, and adds a lot of flavor. Like there's just a lot of threads in the story of this that gives a lot to be enjoyed.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful journey for sure. So
yeah, I pretty much already talked about it, but the movie's gorgeous, beautiful. I can't say it enough. Go see it in theaters. It deserves to be seen on a bigger screen. And I think you were telling me it did well.
I think it's I haven't checked them out, but I think it's like the 4th most successful anime movie now.
Yeah, that's great. So. That's awesome. And I've been having fun seeing anime in the theater lately because that, when I was younger, wasn't as common of a thing. But recently we've been seeing a lot of things that are coming out to theaters.
Well, unfortunately, people are bringing them here, which is important.
And so like I want to support that, especially if something like I had no idea what the hell Suzume was going into it, but after watching Your Name, I was like, okay, whatever the hell they make, I'm gonna watch it. And yeah, I came out very happy. It's great. Like I said before, it kind of shares some common themes, but also felt very different from Your Name, which I appreciated. You definitely tell it comes from the same mind though. Yeah, I thought a lot of stuff was clever when it came to like the earthquake situation, and I don't talk about it too much because the finale and how things go. But yeah, I just really loved this detailed and gorgeous journey through Japan, meeting all the people. I really enjoyed the element with the 2 kids and Soda as a chair. I thought it was a lot of fun. I think the bar that she works at for like a night or whatever. There's always like fun things that happen. In one review I watched on this movie, somebody said it for a while there kind of meanders and goes slow, but I actually loved it. Like I could have watched more of her just experiencing stuff, in the countryside and in town and stuff like that. And all the characters are super endearing. Suzume is a great character. Soda is a really cool character. Soda's friend comes off at first kind of like shady and weird, but like he becomes like an endearing character. Her aunt's an endearing character. All the people they come across throughout their journey are all fun and add a lot of elements. Even the dude that her aunt works with, who's like trying to help her out and stuff like that. He was fun.
Her,
yeah, that was a lot of fun. There's like a lot of like social element to this movie that just makes the whole thing just like kind of a feel good movie.
Yeah, it's not just focused on the main character either.
Yeah.
It's like the side cast like really does get attention. So,
and then Daijin, who I don't want to talk about too much, I think is a fun character because there's a lot of elements of like mischief with that character, and also trying to figure out what their ambitions are. Are they a bad guy? Are they a good guy? Which I thought was. It was effective and worked, because throughout the movie I was guessing. I'm like, wait, what are they doing? And then like towards the end, because they act a certain way towards Suzume, and you're like, what the hell? Are they crazy? Are they like good? Like what's going on? And they're always like at where the earthquakes might happen. And I thought that was a really fun situation, and the writing for it was smart, because it worked. When you get the revelation of what they are actually doing, you're like, oh, okay, that's interesting. So yeah, it's really hard because there's certain things I want to talk about specifically, but I still think it's kind of fresh, and I really want people to watch this without knowing anything about it. So yeah, I'll just say I really love this movie. It's another one of this guy's movies that's just really well done, and yeah, it's great. I can't recommend it enough, and I can't wait to see anything else he does. And I'd like to see the other things he's done before as well that we haven't seen. I forgot what they're called, but. Yeah, I've heard good things about those as well. So yeah, I'd recommend Suzume. You should go see it. If I were to grade it, I think I would give it an A. I really liked it a lot. Can't go A+, but it feels kind of close. I really, really liked this movie, and I'm getting depressed watching these anime movies, because like they got these like fun stories with heroic characters and people who are trying to just do good for the sake of good, and these interesting stories. And then like I see a lot of the movies that come out here, and they're like everyone's arguing about political messaging in them and stuff like that. I'm like, just make cool stories, dude. Make cool stories.
Same thing in gaming, but yeah.
Yeah, and like I watched this movie. I'm like, this movie's just a good story. I think anybody could watch this and just enjoy it. And I'm just, it's great because I have these movies I can watch. It's an option. There still is movies like that, but I look at a lot of stuff that comes out here, and I'm just like, that sucks. That we're so just like obsessed with like trying to push messaging and stuff through our movies. It's just it's boring.
Agreed.
So yeah, hey, it's a great movie. Fantastic. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd also give it an A. I left the theater feeling kind of down for a little bit because it was over.
It fucking pumped you up so high you deflated.
It was weird. I was kind of like in a weird place after finishing the movie. So, I mean, if it gave me an emotional reaction, I don't see how I could give it anything less than an A. So,
yeah, I couldn't go lower than A-, and I can't even fathom giving it A- because there's nothing negative about it outside of nothing. It's great. I also want to give it A+, but I try to reserve those for something that's just really, super rare and just did something specific for me. So, but yeah, 2 A's. We both really liked it. Both really highly recommend it. And if you can see it in theaters, you should see it. But if you can't, watch it when it comes out. Watch it at whatever means you can. And I think you'll like it. It's really good. Yeah. Anything else? All right, go see Suzume. If you did see it, what'd you think of it? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What do you think of it in comparison to Your Name? I know a lot of people say Your Name's better, so I expect that. But yeah, what did you like about it though? What stood out to you? What things in the movie did we maybe not talk about that you'd like to talk about? And if you want to see a full spoiler discussion, we could always humor doing that. Again, I think it's a little early, so I'd like to see people go see it without knowing what happens in it. And yeah,
feel free to express those down below, but just try to put a spoiler warning for people so they don't have to accidentally read something. So
yeah, but let me know everything you're thinking in the comments below when it comes to Suzume. Thanks for watching, guys. I've been Seth. This has been Chevy. Make sure to watch our other reviews. We released a bunch of them: Demon Slayer, Hell's Paradise, Evil Dead Rise. I keep forgetting the name of that movie. Don't let that be what I think of it, though. You should just go watch that review. Check out those reviews and stay tuned for more. But until then, we will talk to you guys later.